Hey everybody, welcome back to your free TV. It is Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. So glad to be back with you here on the channel. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. And so I always start by saying thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lainey, for joining on monthly. Thank you to Tori for donating. So appreciated, so important, and I so appreciate you. And believe me, this channel does need your financial assistance, so I am so appreciative. So, okay, let's jump in here with the news, and I'll plug at the end of the video for my great sponsor, C60 Evo. But we have incredible stuff going on today, and of course, there's this whole Trump hiccuped, and now he bowed down to Walz and Frey there in Klobuchar in Minnesota, and of course he did no such thing. We already know from Treasury Secretary Bessent that they have organized a huge task force to go after all the fraud in Minnesota. Okay, they have put in place now whole teams that are specifically from the Treasury and the IRS that Bessent oversees, going in and taking down all of the information and basically going after all of the fraud. And so when we hear that Walz had a call with Trump, and Trump puts out a Truth Social saying, me and Walz, we basically agree, it's all good. And then Bovino leaving the scene there in Minnesota, it's all fake news that Greg Bovino, head of Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol, has retired and going back to El Centro, California to retire. That's not true. Okay, that's fake news. Basically bringing Homan in, this is all a stagecraft. And basically what's going on there is bringing and dialing down the mainstream media narrative so that people out there from the crazy left, lunatic fringe, who really are a fringe, and people need to understand that this whole mainstream media control of the narrative is just that. It's a control of the narrative, but it's not where 80% of Americans are at all whatsoever. And so when we see this happening, it literally is just the understanding that Trump, I'm sure, put into Walz very clearly that you're under investigation hugely. Okay, we want to dial this down. And so we are going to, of course, we'll take Bovino out, no problem. And of course, Bovino and Noem, who now the Democrats are now imminently going to impeach if they can't get her removed from DHS Secretary, Fetterman et al. Coming out and hugely saying, oh, we must get rid of Kristi Noem, two Americans are dead. All of this ridiculous narrative is the pay, and it's the pay for play going on behind the scenes. But what we're seeing here, of course, is the attempted, again, the threat to shut down the government over the ICE funding. Meanwhile, they have no problem with that $50 billion included in these appropriations to go overseas to fund everything with their our overseas funding of $50 billion. And it's very interesting to watch all of this play out. And what we're seeing here really is, again, a Trump maneuver with Stephen Miller et al. In the White House to say, hey, we're going to give the public, the mainstream media public, something that they can appreciate, that we're dialing this down, taking Bovino out. He's not going anywhere. He's basically just leaving that scene. But they're not dialing it down. They're going after the fraud. Okay, Bessent is making huge task force to go after the fraud, and it is so massive. And of course, from people like Mike Benz, etc., we're getting Mike Benz at Mike Benz Cyber. Him talking about way back, okay, to their early 2000s, where you have George W. Bush and Bono and all of them. Remember, they all, Clinton, Bush, all of them just love what happened in Haiti. Basically, before that, with what was Band Aid and Bono's. This is out of U2. Him creating that one foundation where basically they had made something. I think it was close to $1 billion in donations through all of this fraudulent aid to fund, what was it? The hungry Somalis. It was the hungry Somalis. It was all about food aid to Somalia. And this goes way, way back decades. And this gets back into Ilhan Omar and way back into her father and grandfather, and of course their tribe, and them being the controlling faction there in Somalia, which is what brought her here and what inserted her here. George H.W. and right up to George W., we get of course, we went from support a mujahideen to infiltrate America to take it out from within. And so that's why Ilhan Omar is still installed there. And we've seen such incredible work going on to expose Ilhan Omar, which I'm going to get into here in a second. But basically, to understand this mainstream media thing of Trump putting out his social saying, Walz and I, we agree. And what did they agree on? Let me put on the glasses finally and get into it. So what did they agree on? And Trump also did a great speech there in Iowa today. He's pushing hard for the midterms. We must win the midterms is his essential part of that speech. But what we get out of what was agreed upon to do with the Walz Frey conversations today out of Minnesota was a number of things. Number one, let's not forget this. Amy Klobuchar just froze her immediate, almost about to happen bid announcement campaign for governor of Minnesota. She put that on hold. This happened after Trump's call with Walz, after the situation with Frey. And so we get Klobuchar freezing her imminent, about to run for governor to stop Mike Lindell, okay, who is winning all of the debates, okay, in Minnesota right now. And so what did that have to do with it? I think it had something to do with it. Okay, I think that is, there's no coinkydinks, okay? We get this freezing of Klobuchar about to run, okay, for governor, because she is obviously already caught up and exposed by the fraud in Minnesota. And obviously Walz, obviously Frey, obviously Ellison, the AG. And so what we're looking at here is this situation of what they've agreed to, according to the White House, is they basically have to agree to turn over all criminals. This is Walz and Ellison, basically Minnesota, has to agree to turn over all criminals currently in custody to ICE. So they don't need Bovino. He can go because they've made this agreement. And if they go back on it, they're already basically, their investigations are so heavy that it's like comply or this is a one-way street. And so basically turn over all criminals currently in custody, all illegal criminals already in custody, basically meaning in jail in Minnesota, to ICE, and those that have active warrants for deportation. And also anyone with known criminal histories, these illegal immigrants, if they have known criminal histories, they cannot be prevented or obstructed. And that we need state, local police cooperation, and that local police must assist in these apprehensions. And so we'll see how it goes. Okay, we already know the Preti and who they're trying to make his. They keep doing AI pictures on Preti. The VA nurse who's now dead, from being on one of thousands of people on this new Signalgate, that is the signal channel that was wonderfully and incredibly broken by Cam Higbee. And and all of that. So we have so much going on here where the Signalgate happened, Cam Higbee with 5,000 people exposed in this, everything from funding to everyone involved, including Peggy Flanagan. Is it Flanagan, who goes as Flan on the Signalgate? Everybody exposed here, okay, for everybody, representatives literally out of the Congress, the state Congress, saying, I don't know if you want to be like an overt, serious, like operator, like activist, but we encourage you to, right up in the government. And so it's all exposed and it's all fantastic. And it's going to get massively going on from here. So what it's exposed everything from Omar with her est cruise. This is fantastic. She had this winery that isn't a winery, that doesn't exist, and it's going to point towards, of course, Nancy Pelosi and of course Newsom. Okay, who Newsom is looking more and more like he's being groomed to be like the next Zelensky for a civil war here in the USA. He is getting more and more unhinged. He is getting more and more. Trump just did the executive order to take over and to federalize the whole situation of the Palisades and Eaton fires, where they have not acted on all the federal money that was given to them. And Trump just passed an incredible executive order today, where basically they're going to federalize it all and take it out of the state of California's hands. And so Newsom is getting more and more Patrick Bateman-ish, but he's also just, to me, he reminds me of like Zelensky back when Zelensky was super coked up. Now we have what's going on here with, it was just said today that Trump has said in these agreements that are going on, still continuing in Abu Dhabi, that we have Trump saying, look, for us to get this peace deal done, and you want security guarantees out of NATO, not saying United States, NATO, okay, guarantees, then you're going to have to give away what Russia has already taken of Ukraine. That's what's up, and that's what's going on. And it kind of tells you behind the scenes what's going on, okay? Because there is so much going on. And we're so thankful that we have somebody, we have Donald J. Trump in the White House right now who's capable of handling what is the most incredible and insane amount of backbiting, dealing, fraud, the massive stealing of our massive amounts of all of our taxpayer dollars, okay, and handling all of this complexity with all of these nations. Because we just had Dr. Oz come out today and say, and he's the secretary of in HHS for Medicare and Medicaid, and he basically said we have a huge Armenia, Russian, network here that is basically captured California in the Medicare and Medicaid fraud for everything to do with transferring money out. Okay, so it's nuts. But I think I will go back here to Omar, and I know I jump around, but we go back to Ilhan Omar out of Minnesota, right? And of course, her S Cruz winery in Santa Rosa, California, and that's where I branched off. Pelosi, and what about Pelosi and Newsom's massive wineries that they have? Well, if Ilhan Omar's winery doesn't exist, what's going on at their wineries? I want to hear about Pelosi's wineries. I want to hear about Newsom's wineries and their their tax records compared to their production of wine, et cetera, that still went through all the COVID, just made it through just fine, et cetera, et cetera. But with Omar's Est Cruz winery in Santa Rosa, California, it was worth $15,000, which I can't even imagine that could be real, but this is what this reporter is saying on the documents, that basically last year made $6 million out of this non-existent winery. that when you go there, there is no winery there. It's just a building. There's no vines. There's no, there's no, there's no lovely rows of all those things that took over all your farmland and became wineries, as they do all throughout California and Oregon and everywhere. That what used to be farmland is now wineries, because that was the thing where they could make money, or maybe they could just be fraud. I don't know. But basically, massive lawsuits against this winery from, I guess, the cannabis industry. That something to do with money involved in her husband, Omar's third husband. It was her first husband, then her brother husband, and now this guy who is a banker, and I think he's a Jewish guy, but Tim Minette, um, basically used to, I believe Keith Ellison worked for him before Keith Ellison became the Islamist AG of Minnesota. So very interesting there. And no wines produced. There's nothing there. The Facebook page has nothing for several years, and it's looking like uh, they are scuddued, and Besson's on top of it with all of these. He said he's putting it out throughout all of the states that are where they're investigating fraud, these special teams out of the IRS and out of Treasury going after them. And so this is wonderful. It's wonderful. And of course, Keith Ellison, the hey, if you're raped, just call a social worker type guy, the Islamist out of Minnesota, the AG, he basically is caught out for putting forward the Money Remittance Improvement Act, which was the whole operation that set up all of these Somali money transfer operations that took hold by the hundreds across Minnesota, where every other storefront is a place to go and exchange money and send your money to Somalia. And so, very huge, creating the money laundering network there by Ellison. And so it's just going to keep going, and it's all interconnected, and we love it. And so as we keep going on here, um, and we keep looking at it all, and what I said earlier about Bono, he had teamed up with Jeffrey Sachs way back then, which is really interesting. Just interesting. Jeffrey Sachs way back then, when they were doing all of this Somali money laundering out of Band Aid and all of their foundations connected with George H.W. Bush, and they were George W. Bush, and they were basically getting all this money supposedly being sent to Somalia, right? And so it just gives you the timeline of how it takes decades to then demolish the United States using the same mechanisms. But it goes from the external to the internal. And that's what the steal was all about in 2020 for the massive rush of why Biden could not be president, and Otto Penn took over with the criminals that weren't of any oath. They didn't take their oaths of office. Just look at Todd Callender and everything he's put out about the no oaths of all of these people. And as they go after Kristi Noem now, still nothing, crickets about Mayorkas, about Alexei Mayorkas of Ukrainian descent. And this whole Ukraine thing, just it's the gift that keeps giving. But, as we look at this, it is very, very incredible to watch. And so I want to go from here to, wait, let me look at here for a second. Do I want to go? Wait, no, I want to go somewhere else first. I am going to get into the executive order to do with Trump federalizing the rebuilding of LA away from Newsom, taking it out, and also going massive audit control, auditing all the federal money that they've already given to California to do with the fires, etc., and going on from there. But I wanted to talk about something here that was really interesting that I watched a huge part of this morning, really early, that was coming out of Jerusalem, Israel, and this had to do with the second annual International Conference on Combating Anti-Semitism. And this was so interesting because this was they were talking about the algorithms of hate, and of course attacking Elon Musk enormously. But what was really interesting in this plenary, I watched a plenary of social influencers and people in different government jobs, and then also Mike Huckabee, the ambassador to Israel, all saying the same thing, and it was intense. It was crazy. There was no like, let's get into dialogue and let's talk about what's going on here with let's talk. No, 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 no. It was full on. It was full bore. We have to go harder. We have to go full Zionist. We have to be more and more Zionist, and totally humiliate and shame and humiliate and devastate and psychologically manipulate everybody who says that Zionism is bad or wrong. And this wasn't even about anti-Semitism. They were talking about Zionism. It was really huge. The second annual International Conference on Combating Anti-Semitism and the algorithms of hate that is going on there, of course, with especially Elon Musk's X. And so basically they said we need to end anti-Semitism by being the coolest, the coolest of all. This was a Myra K, Myra, I think it's Myra K, her channel. Basically, she was like, I now have this great platform. Everybody loves me, and this is what I do. And she's like, we have to talk about how our Israelis or our Jewish guys are the hottest men out there. For the women, we have to get there and make Semitism cool, make Jews cool in the public limelight. Harkening back to maybe like I don't know, the 40s and 50s in cinema or something. But they're basically like, we have the hottest guys. It was really kind of freaky, but she was just basically saying we can dominate with unwavering ultra Zionism. We have to make Zionism super, super cool in order to combat anti-Semitism. And that's how we do it. It was really interesting because even Mike Huckabee, and it's interesting because later Mike Huckabee came out today and said something like, Christians will be absolutely persecuted by religious. I mean, it was just like schizophrenia on Mike Huckabee. He came out later today and said something like, Christians will be persecuted in this religious war. But earlier today at the second annual International Conference on Combating Anti-Semitism, we had Mike Huckabee saying, we absolutely need to use humor and ridicule about anybody who questions the Greater Israel Project or what's going on with Zionism. It was really freaky to watch. And basically he said we need to weaponize humor and ridicule against anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. And again, completely unapologetic. And the situation here is, what sucks, for the rest of the Jews out there that don't want this massive Greater Israel Project or huge amounts of Orthodox that don't even believe in Zionism whatsoever and believe the opposite, is that, this war is being created by them and them. But what I mean is the same with the CIA. It's the same with the British. It's the same with it's just the elites. They just want to create a war between people, whereas people just don't want to be oppressed and screwed over by each other. And there isn't like a there, but they keep pushing it. They keep pushing it, and it's very interesting to watch it all happening. As we're watching in Texas where they're going out full bore, which is fantastic. Oklahoma as well, against Sharia law. We're seeing March 1st, March 3rd, I believe, proposition. It's just a proposition, okay, but that everybody in Texas needs to get out and vote for. And you got people like Steve Bannon, War Room, etc., putting out so hard that they just want to push a proposition so that we could say that Sharia law is illegal in Texas. Like, What the hell? Yeah, of course it's illegal, but no, we need to go through again because of our ridiculous predecessors who allowed there to be Muslims in Congress in the first place, allowed them to take official positions. This is what was really interesting here is that we're seeing on MSM and all these other platforms where they're saying that Christianity allows for lying and deception and all this stuff when exactly the opposite is true. Not that we don't have a major problem with grifting, organized, the crazy psycho Christians. That are they Christians? I don't think so. Demonically possessed people that are super captive in both the evangelical movements and the evangelical, I guess, hierarchies, and I guess also the Catholic hierarchies, that all they want to do is destroy Christianity. That absolutely, with the Golden Ruler, is 100% against deception. It is these other Abrahamic religions that allow deception and make it okay to lie to get what you want and get ahead in doing battle against the enemy, right? And of course, Christianity, the Christian West, is the enemy. And so, as we keep looking at this, and we continue to go on here, um, we have to wonder, you know, why, why do these people just want global slavery? What's their problem? Why? Why global slavery? Everything that we're talking about, Somalia, largest slaver nation for hundreds of years. And it's disgusting, and it's Islam. Okay, it's Islam behind that, with huge amounts of, unfortunately, Semitic overlords. So anyway, going on from there, I want to talk about. I think I'm going to talk about. I think I'm going to get. Yeah, I think I'm going to go into Trump's executive order here in California. And this is Trump federalizing the rebuilding of Pacific Palisades and Eaton Fire areas in LA. We would love it if they would do that everywhere. Trump, he's just, he's focused on the Olympics here. I know that that's a huge thing. And whoever's behind him that wants to build out 6G, when I say behind him, I don't believe controlling him. I'm just saying the money, and the creation of this 6G rollout that's supposed to happen at the Olympics in California, and how much this burning down of the Palisades is super connected in here. And so we're seeing this executive order basically going after everything, going after huge audits on all the money. And this is, let me get to what is the number of this executive order. Hold on. Oh, and I wanted to mention this before I go on to the executive order. Pete Hegseth, military, he's come out and said, no. With Minnesota, we really want DHS and ICE to go forward facing, creating operation staging at Minnesota military base. That's where he's going. That Hegseth is seeing this as no. We need the Alaska. What are they called? The Alaska. What are they called? Hold on. I've almost got it. Okay. I don't have it in front of me. The Alaska Angels. Sorry. The Alaska Angels. They still want the 11th Airborne Division going in there into Minnesota, and to do staging there for the completion of the ridding out of what isn't not just the illegal migration, but the illegal criminal aliens, but also what is this insurrection that is from within. Okay, organized from within, straight out of the Congress of Minnesota, straight out of Walz and Flanagan and all of them, that this is something larger. And so this is what's still being discussed. And of course, Signalgate, that exposed that they are all talking with each other. And so all indexed and reported by Cam Higbee. And yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So anyway, we go back. And also I will mention here before I get back to the executive order. I know I'm jumping around, but when we look at what also happened today now with the Border Patrol shooting in Arizona, we had, of course, the AG, the supposedly elected AG out of Arizona, coming out in the last 2 days and saying, Second Amendment, you have the right to protect yourself against ICE in this state in Arizona. And this is, of course, because the same thing's happening where the same kind of organization, Arizona is among the worst. Just think Kerry Lake, think of the steel, think of everything that's gone down in Arizona and Katie Hobbs taking over and how they are so cartel controlled in Arizona. And now there's another Border Patrol shooting there, somebody in critical condition. And I think we're going to be looking here in California having hugely to do with what is the real estate cartel neighborhood setups for trafficking and control, where they buy up whole neighborhoods and basically control them all as like redoubts, as huge areas that are embedded totally by cartels. And the real estate fraud that went into it and buying it in the first place, the laundering of cartel money through Arizona is huge. And we're going to see it with Gallego. We're going to see it with all of them for entertainment purposes only, how much they're all involved. And I saw an interesting article that came up, and I wanted to just bring it to your attention because I definitely think this is going to be, as we're seeing the massive billions of all our taxpayer dollars fraudulently stolen and money laundered into all the Democratic coffers and across overseas and the cartels and everything that Trump's doing to reverse that. And Mexico coming very soon for actions there. I wanted to mention this case, and this is just one little taste, okay, of what we're going to see with the real estate fraud when we're looking at Pulte and why they went so hard against Pulte with his control to do with the FHA, Federal Housing Administration, control of Fannie and Freddie, and everything going down with Trump's decision to get BlackRock out of and all the hedge funds out of owning residential real estate and how it's connected to the cartels. And this is just a tiny example. This is out of Georgia, but really out of Florida. And this is a guy named Todd Burkhalter, the CEO of something called Drive Planning LLC, pled guilty to defrauding over 2,000 people of more than $380 million for the last 4 years when Biden was in, between 2020 and 2024. Basically, what happened here is that he used what is the real estate acceleration loan opportunity called REAL, the real estate acceleration loan opportunity, and the cash out real estate fund, the core fund, the cash out real estate fund, okay, using the federal government to bring in huge investors to basically flip tons of properties. And this was a huge Ponzi scheme. He actually just defrauded all of these people. This is a actual person who did this on his own. Okay, as an American citizen, he used the real and the core fund as as they're planning. Drive Planning's primary investment vehicle and fraudulently marketed as a bridge loan scam that kept flipping properties that guaranteed investors a 10% return every 3 months. Meanwhile, he was pocketing tons of it, buying yachts, buying huge amounts of luxury vehicles, properties in Mexico. huge properties, giant $1 million condos and properties in Mexico. And that's all you kind of need to know. He actually lives in Florida, but did this LLC in Georgia. And that's what I'm trying to talk about here is that the real estate, what we got with Pulte, with Bill Pulte, is so important because he's serious about going after these people. And again, with the Treasury. All right. And this is going to be huge. And it's not entirely disconnected from, it's actually uber connected, and again with the AG out of Arizona coming out, and she's saying, it's within your Second Amendment rights to defend yourself against a masked, unidentified ICE agent. And then we get the Border Patrol shooting going on today. And so I say, oh well, it's like these people, it's sad, but it's reality. Okay. That we're going to have people that get harmed as they're doing stupid things. But when we look at Trump then moving into California and Oz saying, hey, the whole healthcare system is totally fraudulent. We know it's everything from the homeless money to the Medicare, Medicaid, to the real estate money, all of it, just a giant, giant cash cow of fraud. Basically, Trump inherited not just the entire United States as a crime scene. We live in a crime scene of our taxpayer dollars just stolen, with our infrastructure destroyed, our supply chains destroyed, everything stolen. It's so disgusting and ridiculous that we even pay taxes. Why do people do it? It's getting to that point. It's like we want arrest Trump. We want some high level arrests. We trade it for tax money. It's, at this point, it's kind of like, we'll pay our taxes if you arrest some people. Because right now, appreciate your mega deals, because it's massively intricate. The deals that have been going on, that are huge, and the only way our country's even staying afloat, right? It's like the Somalia CIA operation back from the 90s and 2000s, coming to fruition now, taking 30 years to come to this place, right? Or the Epstein stuff with the Clintons, so intricate in there, taking from the 90s to now coming into place. This is the trajectory, that the 30-year evolution of fraud and embezzlement and mass destruction. And so how about we trade some taxpayer dollars for some arrests? That would be really great. And so back to the executive order. Okay, we have the executive order. Sorry, I still have to get back to the number of the executive order. Hold on a second here. Ding, ding, ding. Sorry about that. I can't find it. Sorry. Come on. What's the number? I'm going to link it below. It's kind of driving me crazy. Thought I had it right here. Okay. All right. I can't find the executive order number in front of me, which is driving me crazy. But basically, the executive order for Trump to federalize the management of the rebuilding of Palisades and Eaton areas there in LA. It gets into really deep stuff here, where we're looking at basically there being Trump going after every dollar, every federal dollar, um, uh, and also giving the money that was meant to be managed by the state of California, basically saying, we're going to give these federal dollars directly to the people. They come to us with these they're putting in new officials and people in charge, where basically they're going to have contractors that are federally assigned that will work directly with the people, and that the money is going to go directly to the people, and that they intend to recover every single dollar that has been stolen. Very interesting. It's only 6 pages, and yeah, it's driving me crazy that I'm sorry. Anyway, I'll link it below. You'll have the whole White House, California executive order here, but uh, basically it talks about FEMA 856ER, where basically they had granted the federal permitting and funding already within weeks after those fires, and to immediately rebuild, and nothing done, and then the stealing, of course, of the Annenberg Foundation, the hundreds of millions donated that all went to NGOs. Chris Wallace being the spokesperson for those NGOs for FireAidLA.org. All of that money, 50 million given to 120 nonprofits to do things like clean preschool bathrooms. All of this craziness going on, totally taken over. And it gets me back to, just mentioning again, Newsom, what's going on with your wineries, but also him in the crazy stage of sort of where Zelensky was at when he was installed in power, right? The drugs, the crazy, the angry, the inability to say, important things without massive anger and massive vitriol. I believe that Newsom's kind of being set up there. I don't believe he'll ever be president, but he's being set up as a huge operative here in this lead up to the presidency here in 2028. Trump, in his Iowa speech today, coming out and saying very hugely, please, 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 midterms, get out there, get active. And that is a huge issue that we have to absolutely get active in those midterms. And it is so important. And so, yeah, I think I'm gonna kind of leave it there. Probably not entirely, because you know how I am. I always keep going, but we have a few other things. With Xi out of China, we see a huge military purge going on there. He has gotten rid of massive amounts of generals recently. He keeps cleaning everything out to anything threatening him. Supposedly, this connected to what happened back when I was reporting back. With the UN General Assembly, and there was, of course, this talk going around that there was a general who had traveled to the White House, trying to basically get Trump to back what looked like an insurrection in China against the CCP. And so she has gone full bore against that, and we're seeing Keir Starmer now going to China, I believe, tomorrow, and going to talk about trade deals. Trump put a huge 100% tariff against Canada and Carney for his threats to sign trade deals with China and bring China right up against our border. While we also saw von der Leyen over the weekend meeting with Modi in India and signing a huge trade and defense cooperation deal with India. So very interesting there. We'll see what goes down with Starmer going to China. It doesn't look like it will end up being very successful. And yeah, I might go. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there. I thought I would go further, but this thing about not being able to find this this executive order number is driving me nuts. But I will put it down in the description below, and we will kind of understand why Trump is doing this. For one, it's to really go full bore against Newsom, and for two, it is to make sure that LA is not going to be controlled by a bunch of radical leftists leading up to the Olympics. And also, hopefully, number three is to actually help the people who were burned out in those fires. And this actually takes control of the reservoirs, of the dams. It takes control of the infrastructure of water, that flows to LA, and the protection of it, and that basically the federal government is going in and taking control. So we will see now new radical leftist craziness going on in California in opposition of this, where Trump is just like, come in and we're going to build your homes. You get to build your homes. But there will be, of course, the anti, no kings, whatever funding that will go in with Karen Bass and her Cuban radicalism training and everything going on with Mexico, with their, their whole movement to basically their plan under Biden and under the globalists was for Mexico to come and get closer and closer to taking back California, taking back Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, hence the cartel funding and everything Venezuela. But what we have here, of course, is Peter Schweizer with his drill down podcast, but his new book, The Invisible Coup, and Peter Schweizer, Clinton Cash, all of it, or well, Clinton Cash was Roger Stone, but Peter Schweizer has blown the lid off of everything corrupt for the last 10 years, doing great jobs with his books. And his new book, The Invisible Coup, The American Elites and Foreign Powers Use Immigration as a Weapon. He's talking about specifically, very hugely, the whole point of the globalist use of migration invasion is to defeat Western Christian free republic civilizations, that this is what they're doing, and that is the plan. He talks about Cuba, the Mariel boat lift, to bring all those refugees out of Cuba into the U.S. as major guerrilla warfare forces into the USA, maybe being the largest actually invasion so far on a tactical battle level, worse than 9/11, worse than these other things for the effects that it's had insidiously in the Mexican and Cuban invasion into the Congress and into the infrastructure of our government and the connection to the deep state and the CIA. He basically talked about uh, the Islamists with the fraud we're seeing, whether it is throughout, the Somali population or the different areas with all this frauds going on that has so much to do with Muslims, whether it is the H-1B visas, everything going on in Texas, Minnesota, et cetera, Oklahoma, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, that the belief system behind this has to do with the fact that the Islamists, as they're preaching through the imams, et cetera, or through their discussions and their officials and the people invading our legislation, our legislative bodies and town councils and city planning and et cetera, that this fraud is so baked in with them as a religion, as a Sharia law situation, that the fraud that is dictated to the people to be participating in and to get on board and, hey, be the Leering Center, be this or that, that's going to take money from the federal government, because this is the tax that we as Muslims have the right, whether overt or covert, we have the right to tax the Christians or the non-Muslims for their infidelity, okay, for their blasphemy and infidelity. We have the right to tax them, and this is our way of doing it. And we have the absolute, through the Quran, right to lie and commit fraud against them, the infidels. And he talks about that in this book. He talks about so much to do with this, and he talks about the absolute clear and real plan of Mexico and other Central American countries, Colombia, etc., involved in what has meant to be the retaking, in their view, of the lower United States in this, what was meant to be the destruction of America. So very interesting there. We'll continue with more. And I'm sorry, I lost my plot there when I couldn't find that executive order number. It drove me crazy. But here we are now at almost 50 minutes. I'm going to end it here today. I hope you have fared well with the storm. It's been a little bit intense here for me, and that's why I'm, a little discombobulated. But I hope you're staying warm. We pray for the families. I think like 34 people died during this awful storm engineered by the weather, weapons, and harbor raids. And they're keeping this Arctic frost thing going throughout the country, this freeze. And so, yeah, we pray. There's been close to 1 million people without power. And we pray for God's intervention, okay, in the sabotage of people getting their power back. As we know, so much of our infrastructure has been so deliberately destroyed. So we pray for the families of the people lost, and I pray for all of our discernment going forward here, because the tricky times are going to get trickier, and it's going to be harder to discern where is the truth coming from, and where is sort of the massaged information to do this sort of propaganda battle for the information war that people that's coming out of the White House, coming out of here and there and everywhere, basically secrecy over here, and how do we manage this situation. And it is very hard to manage, but it's not hard to manage us in our lives with our connection with Jesus Christ, and our connection to our own internal knowing, what it means to basically be aligned with your golden rule, or what it means to continue your days with service, your days with connection with people, your days with asking God for direction and then following it through. That really is what keeps us solid, keeps us going. And I hope that you are feeling solid today. I hope you're feeling connected to Christ, and that you are feeling energized by that. And so let's just keep being of service, keep giving to your neighbor, keep helping. This storm thing's going to keep going on, raging through many, many, many states, and people need your help. So that's one way to get your mind out of confusion or turmoil, or the busy brain that Satan can take a stronghold or a foothold into your mind, get you squirreled about something, and you don't need to be. So just stomp that out, get back to service, and help those around you, and you will feel clear again, right? Okay. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. I will mention my fantastic sponsors, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. This is the incredible miracle molecule. This is the purest carbon 60 out there, made in the best lab that exists, totally government certified, and out of an incredible reactor that recreates the heat of the sun and makes this incredible fullerene molecule that gets into your mitochondria, all of your trillions of mitochondria, and cleans them up and gets the garbage out. So you have cellular regeneration, and everybody loves it for basic things like getting inflammation out of the body, feeling more energized, feeling more focused, feeling more alive and awake during the day, but then sleeping really well. But then you have it for the aging diseases, the inflammaging diseases, whether it is the big turbo C or everything accelerated by the jabs of the biowarfare, those things getting halted and reversed, whether it's neurodegenerative or nervous system disorders, all of this incredible weapon here against the assault on our bodies. c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. Anybody who's ever donated to the channel gets 15% off with a different code and link sent to you. And then also it's getting up towards the end of the month, and so I just want to let everybody know I get to give away 2 bottles of the capsules every month. to people who donate to the channel, just randomly selected 2 different people. I like the capsules because I like to carry them around with me in my pocket, but they have the liquids and the MCT oil. These are all oils that are single sourced and incredible quality. The MCT oil, the coconut oil, is great. People talk about it actually preventing the harm during workouts, as it's used for the keto and the workout population, the hackers out there, the biohackers, preventing the harm, in addition to healing the harm during your workout. So fantastic, incredible company. Check it out below. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We're going through this place where, we're Trump warfaring here against Newsom hard. This is after Davos and Newsom being massively just obliterated there, and him coming out full Patrick Bateman, as Scott Bessent said, with just his maniacal behavior and speech and actions, and going after California, because you can say what you want about Texas being lost, because this is a huge fight for the survival of Texas, but look at California. We should never ever give up on California. It is half of or more of the Pacific coastline to our country. We need California, and we need it back. Insane. And so with Trump going full bore after Newsom and after the state of California, let's pray that it's all guided for the right reasons, and that Californians can be free from the massive stranglehold of this giant sucking sound that Ron Paul always talked about, of all our taxpayer dollars just being sent out through all the money laundering machines to other places. Yeah. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. You are free. I will be back tomorrow, and we'll go from there. Look in the links below for everything I talked about in this video today, including that executive order. It's driving me nuts. It's down below. See you tomorrow. You are free.